Meeting is called to order. This is the May 28th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Voter Registration and Elections of Beaufort County. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so today we have remotely participating Ms. Dorr and Mr. Sawicki. Both are welcome to participate in our discussion today, however, are not able to vote on any issues. Next on the agenda, public comments. Seeing no public present, we'll move on to the next topic, which is the meeting minutes from the April 23rd, 2025 board meeting. May I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes as written?
Lee Mitchell moved that the April 23rd, 25 board meeting minutes be accepted.
I have a second.
Second.
Mr. Backer seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to committee reports, if any, starting with Mr. Backer for Budget and Finance.
No report. Specific report, the only comment is the budget. Beaufort County budget is in progress. The second reading of the ordinance occurred last night. Third reading will occur in early June. We plan to schedule a finance committee meeting after the budget is approved, so we know where we stand on both our operating budget and on capital projects that may be approved for fiscal year 26.
Can you hear anything?
No, I can't. I can see that you're trying to, I guess, dial us in. We're having some trouble, I think.
Okay.
Beverly and Mike, we can hear you. Is our mic off?
I can see them in the little screen, but they can't, I guess, you know.
Say it again, Mr. Sweeney.
No, I asked if our microphone was muted.
No, yours is on.
Ours is on.
That was a
So we
really
can hear
nice,
them, they can't hear
letter.
us.
A really nice meeting that you all scheduled with Mr. Moore.
Oh, yeah. I know. I don't think
Seconds.
this meeting will be too long anyway.
Okay.
It looks like it's a pretty short agenda.
You want to text them and
One
tell them
thing
to be
that I
careful
really
what they
wanted
say.
to respond
can't
to was
understand them. It's
the
not loud
handicap parking. There was some discussion back and forth
Yes.
that maybe used for curbside. But I think that federal law.
Can you hear us? I just heard them for a second.
Wendell, is it possible for you to mute them,
Oh,
participants?
Actually, I think they can hear you now.
Okay. Ms. Dorr, Mr. Sawicki, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, all right, good. All right, let's carry on. So next on the agenda is a committee report from Mr. Ford for facilities.
Thank you. The Facilities Committee didn't have a formal meeting, but we did have some issues that we needed to follow up on with the commission, and Chris was kind enough to pass my report out to all of you here in the room, as well as Ms. Dorr and Mike as well, remotely. Just a few things I wanted to make you all aware of. As you all know, we were successful in at least the county, the state was successful in the passing of H 4350, which was something we've been trying to get accomplished for quite some time. And that was a good thing. However, as a result of the passage of H 4350, we're now in non-compliance with Regulation 77790. Also, we wanted to let it be known that the staff has done an excellent job of contacting those organizations in the community that could potentially serve as precincts for us as we go forward in regards to the expansive growth that is going on in the county. Staff also, one of the issues that the facility committee was responsible for was this new compliance report. And staff has done an excellent job of compiling a new report with the polling location agreement use form. I have a copy here. If any one of the commissioners needed to have a copy of this, I'm sure the staff can.
We all have a copy.
You have a copy, so
Thank
that's
you.
great. Staff has done an excellent job of providing you with that as well. So any comments that anyone have, they can provide those directly to the staff. Another issue that we wanted to briefly talk about, not in details, about some of the enhancements that has occurred here at the building, that will be occurring and have occurred. We have done some extensive research on those enhancements and feel comfortable that they are going to provide the type of support that we need for our personnel here at the building. If we want to address that at a future date, we'd be more than happy to address more specifics, but for this forum, I prefer to keep my comments basically from a general perspective. And that's it from the Facilities Committee. We will probably be having a formal committee meeting in the next month or two, depending on issues that we need to address.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ford. Next is, oh,
Everybody, when you speak, you really need to get into that mic because it's not coming through.
okay. Okay, next on the agenda is Legislative Affairs, and I'm the chair of that committee. We have not met since the last meeting, and with the end of session in Columbia, there was less urgency to get the resolution out on S36, which we had agreed at the last meeting. However, we will meet again before the next board meeting to review a draft resolution about that. Other than that, I have no comments. Oh, except to acknowledge our legislative delegation for getting H 4350 through both chambers and getting it signed by the governor on May 12th. That was a very good last-minute effort by our delegation, and that's Act 53. I believe that Director Smalls will be addressing that in her comments. Next is redistricting. Ms. Doerr, do you have any comments for us?
I don't, and I would like to apologize for speaking here a few minutes ago. I was not aware that the meeting had been officially started. There was no sound. I did see a picture of the participants, the attendees there, but I had no sound at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay,
I
well,
would like to state at this time that the redistricting committee has not met since the first time, but we do plan to meet probably at the end of this month or prior to the next board meeting.
okay, thank you for joining us and for that brief report. Next is the Rules Committee. Ms. Johnson?
The Rules Committee has not met in the last month, and I am hoping to have a meeting sometime in June. And I noticed from the minutes from the last meeting where I wasn't here that a lot of the committees have completed charters. I just want to make sure that the Rules Committee, I guess it would be me, have copies of them in order to finish our task. And that's the only report I have.
And what is your target date for getting the handbook to the board for approval?
Probably at the July meeting. I don't realistically think I'm going to be able to get it done. We have to have a meeting before the board has to approve it before we can actually do the final print. So if we can approve it in June, you would get it in July. Can you hear me?
You
Okay.
have to speak up too.
Okay. So what I said was I'm hoping to have it in people's hands at the time of the June meeting so that it can be approved, and then you get a copy in July.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the Early Voting Center Evaluation Committee. Mr. Swicky, do you have an update for us?
Yes, we completed our committee meetings last month, and I am putting together a report for the July meeting, which I'll hand out to everybody to review.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is unfinished business, and I'm not aware of any. Is anybody else aware of unfinished business? Nope.
Nope.
Okay, next is new business. The only new business item I have is the draft letter to Administrator Michael Moore. And the purpose of this letter is to provide Mr. Moore with some information that he requested about the early voting centers during the November 2024 general election. The second purpose is to provide some early voting center data to Mr. Moore to support discussions that were started in the past and should be continued in the future about parking-related issues, particularly at the Bluffton and the Beaufort early voting centers. So you all have had a chance to review this draft letter. So may I have a motion to accept the letter as written?
I so move.
May I have a second? Second, Ms. Mitchell?
Second.
Did you hear me? Did you hear me?
I heard you. Okay, any discussion? Okay, I'd like to
No.
acknowledge there were some concerns or suggestions about additional data for curbside parking in the letter. However, I think that there are a lot of nuances related to curbside at early voting centers, and a best practice for one location is not necessarily a best practice for another. So since this letter is really an opener for further discussions with Administrator Moore, we'll keep it high level as it is. So all in favor of approving the letter, say aye.
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 I
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is the director's report. Ms. Smalls?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What a wonderful day in May. Okay, today is May 28th, 2025, and to the Beaufort County Board of Voter Registration and Election. Not a whole lot's going on in May. I would just like to bring your attention to a few items. The legislative updates. We're going to have some election updates, facility updates, and miscellaneous updates. I think Mr. Sweeney has also mentioned, and Mr. Ford, the passing of House Bill 4350, which in essence added 8 additional precincts to Beaufort County, and I receive it with mixed emotion because I love the fact that we are in full compliance with 7-7-110. But it also posed a challenge for us as we move forward in trying to comply with Code 7-7-790. So we have been in the last couple of weeks contacting facilities, setting up appointments, new facilities in our communities to encourage them to become partners with the Board of Voter Registration and Elections, which will enhance and improve our voter experience across the county. So with the help of the board and staff, that's our mission for the next couple of months, and probably it's going to be an ongoing task. Continuously looking for places that we can have as polling locations in our county.
Marie? I have a question. That Bill 4340 has immediate effectiveness upon signature by the governor. And I know, practically speaking, that really won't impact us until next year. But it's not a January 1st effective date that we had originally planned. So what's the schedule for mailing out new voter registration cards to the people who are impacted by the split precincts?
Well, it's a process. First, we will have to receive the files from the Legislative Council. That file will go to our GIS department. They will in turn give us updated street listings, and those street listings will in turn be added into VREMS. It's a process, okay? Will be added into VREMS, and once those are uploaded, verified, and re-verified, then voter registration cards will be issued. They will be issued before the November election,
Thank you.
this year's November elections, because there are some precincts in Bluffton that will be affected by it.
Okay. I have a question. Marie, do you feel there needs to be other strategic initiatives in this to notify voters of the change other than the cards being mailed? Because we all know voters really don't read much.
The question was whether there should be any strategic initiatives to notify voters of the precinct changes prior to this November's election.
That's what the card will do. The voter registration card will notify them that their precinct or polling location has been changed.
I think Mr. Sawicki was asking if there's anything in addition to the new voter registration cards that we should be doing to communicate to voters.
Not necessarily. There could be a public announcement that we could put out in the paper. A lot of folks don't read the paper. We can put it on our website if they go to the website. But the official notification, each voter will receive a voter registration card. If the board would like for us to do that, we can. We don't typically do that, but we can just put something on our website maybe and on our Facebook page to let them know that.
I think that'd be great if you could do in those two locations, and also perhaps in the weekly e-blasts by the county government, they could include a comment in there about the precinct splits.
We just won't have the detailed information as to who
Understood.
will have who will be in what precinct yet.
That was gonna be my comment. It's gonna be, you don't wanna bombard your constituents with information and confuse them. If you send a general statement out, it's not gonna mean a whole lot to a person unless you have specifics. We can advertise it. I'm just not sure it's going to be worth the effort to do so unless we can provide them with some more specific data. So I think it's more imperative to find out when we will get the information and how long will it take for us to enter it into realms and then start setting out. Get a feel for that. I think it would be better than just sending out a generic information saying there's a possibility that your precinct may change.
Speak. Okay, Mr. Ford, we need to speak in the microphones closer. Understood. Mr. Ford's concern is that we should not advertise this too widely until it's actionable by the voters and they can look at their personal information and see whether it's changed or not. So perhaps an action item on this could be a question about when the information will be available to voters when they check their own voter information on scvotes.gov, which may be before the voter registration cards are mailed out.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
So at the time that information becomes available to a voter for their own information on scvotes.gov, perhaps that would be a good time to put a notice on our website, Facebook page, and have the county government included in their newsletter.
That's what I would recommend.
This isn't the first time that we've been faced with this. How long does it take before we get information from Columbia in situations like this?
It doesn't take long to get the information. The longest part in that whole process is us inputting the information into the system and verifying that every voter is assigned to the correct precinct. So again, it comes from Columbia. It comes to our GIS department. They do whatever they do. Takes about 2 weeks or so maybe for that to take place. Chris, help me. I don't know how long it really takes them to do it, but 2 or 3 weeks, and then it'll take us a couple of weeks to input that information and verify it.
Depending on how much is affected in the streets and that, it could take anywhere from a couple weeks to maybe a month or longer, rough estimate, because you also got to look at the splits. If the roads are split where one side is in one precinct, one is in another. So it's not an overnight project.
But I can assure you that our voters will have information prior to the November election in enough time where they will know where they're going. So, like I said, we have done the whole county, and this is not the whole county, within a couple of months. So I just want the board to know that once we start on the project, it could take about a month or two to get everything done. Again, without being too specific, all I can guarantee is that the voters will have their information or be able to access the information long before the election, the November election.
Okay, thank you.
Marie, I have a question about, I know looking for new polling locations, but is the plan for the November election to retain the existing locations and not assign voters?
If
At that
a new
point?
facility is willing to work with us in the November election, and we will go ahead and switch over. Again, if that happened, we would like to do all of that at least a month before the election so that voters can be notified of a new polling location. So,
And I have a question in reference to that. Are these polling locations, can we get something where it's not going to change? Because that can confuse the voter too. I'm going to use, for instance, First Zion Baptist Church, and they're only going to say we can only do it in November. And now we have to look for another location in order for those voters in that area that was going to Zion who have to go someplace else. Both for us to try to get a standard place where we don't have to be so much get confused.
Are you telling me that that facility will not be available this November?
I'm asking,
Well,
pertaining to his question, is
this is how we typically would do it. We hate to change a facility, and if we were doing a primary or something, we probably won't change it. But for a general election this year, the only known elections that we are having are the town of Port Royal and the town of Bluffton, and of course, Yemassee. So that doesn't incorporate a whole lot of places. I think there may be 5 in Port Royal and maybe 7 or 8 in Bluffton. I'm not sure. So to notify those voters about a change shouldn't be a big deal like it would be for a county-wide. But if you do not want to change in an off-election year, that would be your decision. But typically, we would go ahead and change it if we have enough time to notify voters and get new voter registration cards out to them. So we can set staff and, we will discuss when our deadline would be to make sure that voters are notified in a, reasonable time.
Thank you.
Any other question concerning that? Okay, let's continue with our updates. I did include some federal legislations, and some of you may have already heard a lot about these two pieces of legislation. The SAVE Act is being talked about across the country, and the new presidential executive order 142848. You all received copies of that, I think, about 2 months ago. There's nothing really that we need to do right now. In reference to the SAVE Act, the main act is requiring that individuals provide documentary proof of their citizenship when they're registering or re-registering to vote. So proof of citizenship must be presented in person, and the state, it requires the state to collect the document and keep it on file. So that's what's being talked about. It has not passed. It passed the House, but it has not passed the Senate. So right now it's a moot point. I shouldn't say a moot point, but the reason why we are presenting this information is so that we can be aware of what's coming down the pike. And it's a possibility that it will happen before the next, if not before the midterm election, it would happen before the presidential election in 2028. We'll be aware of it and start preparing for it if it does get passed by both chambers. The executive order, you had that a couple of months ago. Some of the same requirements, proof of citizenship. They are also asking to review all of the states' voter registration list. That's the federal government, that is. And it's requiring that absentee mail ballots will not be received after election day. Now, that doesn't really affect us too much, except for in South Carolina, except for military. Military ballots can be received up until after the election. Right, Chris? The day after the election. In other states, ballots can come in way after the election day. That does not affect South Carolina. Have those regulations in our country. Now, amending the voluntary voting system guidelines. EAC is working with that and how it's going to affect federal funding. All of this, again, is just so that we can be aware of what's coming down the pike. And until the South Carolina State Election Commission direct us to make any adjustments or changes to our current policies and procedure, nothing will happen. And we have not gotten any directives or anything from the state of South Carolina on changing any of our processes or procedures at this time. Okay. That's just the status of the presidential order. The status is that they have so far at least 5 cases challenging that executive order in court. All right. Let's go to elections. Any questions about legislative updates?
No.
Okay. Election updates. I think we're doing a very good job. Thank Jean and the team for the new poll workers training that's being conducted pretty much on a monthly basis. Right now, as of the 14th of May, We will have a class this coming Saturday. We have 18 people enrolled right now, and we will be accepting enrollees up until Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. So if you know anybody who want to come to class, they can still come. So May 31st. But right now we have about 86 new poll workers since the beginning of the year. And on the next page, you will see how many of those belong to you, individual board members. At least I shouldn't say belong to you. They live in your area. Doesn't necessarily mean they belong to you. Okay? Because some of them are willing to work wherever they are assigned, which is a good thing. We would like to keep them in their home precinct, but that's not always necessarily possible. Okay, polling place updates. I think we talked a little bit about this. We are seeking new polling locations for those new precincts, along with those existing precincts that are co-locating at this time. We have revised the facility use form. You have a copy in your packet. It's a copy still. So if you have any ideas or recommendations, most of those on that first page, they are drop-down menus. We can add things in, take things out, and we will fill out, the office staff will complete the first portion of that form. If you have any recommendations, please let us know. We will try to incorporate them. The whole goal is to make the document more inclusive and like a one-stop shop. Let's do it all on one form.
Ms. Smalls, when do you anticipate that you'll be ready to start sending those out to the facilities?
We have already sent out forms for this November election. We did not send this form out, but we have sent out notification to those facilities that are going to be involved in this year's November election.
So this is for elections going forward after this November?
Right.
Thank you.
So, and that was the third bullet, that we are confirming polling locations right now for the November election. You also have in your packet the compliance report that Mr. Ford mentioned. All it does is tell us how many of those precincts that are within their, how many of those precincts are within, those polling locations are within their precincts. I always get that kind of backwards.
Ms. Walls, just to go back to Ms. Mitchell's question earlier also, this is one of the ways that we are now trying to solidify locations so that if we don't have changes or whatever, we're trying to make them, in other words, we're trying to get more of a commitment from them for all of our elections versus just certain types of elections, whatever. So this is part of what we're doing with this new format.
Excuse me, and this format would, so this form would be, although it's helpful for so-called permanent polling locations, would you be sending this to every location anyway in advance of each election at that location?
Say that again?
Well, so Wendell just mentioned that this form will help to identify kind of permanent polling locations, so they won't change election to election. However, will each polling location still receive a copy of this and be expected to return it before every election?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, like, again, we would like all of our polling locations to be regular polling locations. I never like to use the word permanent because permanent means just that. I like the word regular because I came from an HR background as well, and we don't say permanent employees. No one is permanent. So the polling locations, we know this. Some polling, especially the newer ones, sometimes they only want to participate when there are certain types of election. What we are trying to relay to them the importance of all types of election, local election, county elections, not just the federal elections. And when they commit to serving as a polling location, that they are committing for all types of election, local as well. Now, is that always possible? No. And that's not possible sometimes because, especially if there's a special election and there are special events going on at some of these facilities, their event will typically take precedence over an election. Okay, we trying to change the mindset of our partners. That's why we want to call them partners, and let them understand that we are all in this together, and the service that they're doing for our community is on an ongoing basis. It's not just during the presidential election. And hopefully when they commit, they will look at our effort to use their facility as priority. Elections are priority. Unless there is an event that's been scheduled 2 years ahead of time and they cannot change it, then we will make the adjustment and find a temporary location for our elections. We don't want to do that, but it's not all that unusual. So as far in advance as we can, we will notify our precincts, our polling location partners that there is an upcoming election.
Thank you. I really just wanted to confirm that this is sent to each location prior to every election we expect to have at that location.
If they are participating in that election, yes, sir.
Correct. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, what attachment was that?
A.
Okay, so the polling location compliance report by area is attachment C in your report. And all that is doing is breaking down the big report that you're looking at, Mr. Sweeney, which is what, attachment B?
B, yes. Mhm.
Okay, and so attachment C is just breaking it down by area. If you notice the third area, ADA compliance, we don't have any polling locations that are not ADA compliant.
That's great. So the audits are complete and we're 100% in compliance.
Yes, minus two
great.
locations, and they are exceptions. One is we're not going to be able to use that location this year, and the other is under construction.
All right, but all the regular locations.
All the other regular locations are in compliance, and the survey's been completed and submitted. Capital improvement. Since the last meeting, there really has not been any additional information. I think you all got that information in the last meeting or the meeting before. We have had some activity, as little as it may be. County staff, along with the contractor, came out and measured the windows and the countertops and all of that other stuff. So they just came out and did that. We haven't heard anything back as to the result of it. But I know that they were in the process of getting bids. So that was just one contractor. And I'm sure they were looking at others to come in and do the same thing. Okay. Let's go on to the miscellaneous updates. Our voting equipment, we have scheduled for the 9th and the 10th of June. Some maintenance on our new DS300s. They had some defective tops, and those tops are going to be replaced. ES&S will be doing the replacements. They are coming, the tops should be delivered on the 6th of June, and the replacements will start on Monday.
You're just talking about mechanical defects,
Yeah.
plastic cracked or something.
Yeah, it's a defect in the design, so they're replacing them.
Is that going to require any type of testing after they have completed with their replacement?
No, it's not messing with any of the operational part of the machine. It's just the hard cover
Cosmetic.
across the top, yeah. cosmetic type thing.
Marie, are the materials and labor covered under warranty on the machine?
Yes, this is the new equipment and it's all covered by the warranty of the equipment. I know you all received notification about the Scare Mid-Year Conference. I got a copy of the agenda, attachment D. If you kind of look at it, you can tell that it's not a whole lot there that the board might be interested in. I know most of you would like to take a class. If you take a class, you want credit for it. These are not classes that are certified by SEC. These are pretty much professional development classes. So I won't be mad at you if you don't go.
One more thing I want to mention, I just happened to notice the first date is July 23rd. That is also supposed to be a board meeting date, so keep that in mind,
Yeah,
please.
Mr. Sweeney brought that up. The 23rd is a board meeting date. So, anyways, y'all can ponder over that and make a decision,
Yeah,
and just let Chris know if you decided you want to go. It's still not a whole lot of information on it's got who's doing the presentations, but not necessarily what the presentation is about.
Will all staff attend this SCARE meeting? No. Okay. All right, well, we'll have to talk about who's
Very
going
few.
and whether we need to change the board meeting date.
I think I see behind me, yeah, there he is, our newest employee. Welcome aboard to,
Welcome.
welcome
Yes.
Xavier Jennings aboard. Xavier, would you stand, please?
Yes, my name is Xavier Jennings. I'm from
Great, welcome.
Welcome.
And that ends my report unless you have questions.
Okay, thank you, Marie.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
Okay, so closing comments, I'll be very brief. I'd like to acknowledge that during this period of time where we are not planning for any elections, that you and your staff have been very busy doing a lot of things behind the scenes, such as the ADA inspections, such as finding new polling locations, and probably quite a bit of work now to get the 8 new precincts prepared in our system. So I want to acknowledge and appreciate all the work that continues to go on behind the scenes here.
Thank you. I just want you all to know too that updating street files is an ongoing process. So when we get they call it a shape file, which I can't read, but GIS can read. When we get that file, we will all be involved in that process to get it done as quickly as possible, and that's updating all of our street files in our voter registration management system so voters can get those cards as quickly as possible.
Marie, are you registering many newcomers into the area? New voters?
I can't stop them.
No, but I'm quite sure you probably,
Well,
busy.
we register
Yeah.
voters every day.
yeah.
We are registering voters every day, and so yeah, you can monitor online. The increase in population growth will also affect our voter registration.
Yeah.
But we put them on and we take some off, so it kind of level off there.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I heard that.